first thing I want to do is talk about what are these equations at the top. You will be provided all of this information. All of this information is on the test, okay? So let's talk about what each equation represents. First of all, the x of t, that's what you use to find a horizontal distance. So this is for horizontal. Y is for vertical. And then when we look here, we have V sub 0. V sub 0 is velocity. And then we have our theta. Theta is our angle. And then we have this G here. Does everybody see this G? That G stands for gravity. Okay? When you are using the G value, we're either going to use 9.81 or 32.2. And that just depends on what unit of measure we're using. If it's in meters, then we'll use 9.81. If it's in feet, we're talking about distance in feet, then we'll use the 32.2. Does everyone see how the meter or the unit is M for meters and this one is FT for feet? Does everybody see that? Okay. Last thing is this H sub 0. And that stands for your initial height. So let's go ahead and get started. So part A says, number 1 says, a ball is kicked with an initial velocity of 60 feet per second and an angle of 38. So my x parameter, x of t, is going to be my velocity, which is 60, times the cosine of the angle, which is 38, and we're multiplying it by t. I didn't talk about t. What do you think t represents? Time. T, I think, always represents time. Like, I feel like that's what it always is. So t is time. Okay, now let's write our y parameter. All right, so I want to make sure we're all listening. I know half of us have an earbud in, okay? Just want to make sure we all hear this. Does everyone see how we have a negative 0.5 here at the beginning of the y equation? Okay, because it's a negative 0.5, that means that I'm going to multiply. Well, let me go back. What are we using for gravity? Are we using 9.81 or 32.2? What unit of measure do you see for the velocity? Does everybody see how it says velocity is in feet per second? So because it's in feet, I'm going to use that G. I'm using G equals 32.2. Okay, so for my second equation, I have to start by multiplying G by negative 0.5. When you multiply G by negative, take your calculator, take 32.2 and multiply it by negative 0.5. You should get negative 16.1, and then it's t squared, and then plus 60 sine 38 t, and then my initial height, because I'm kicking a ball that's on the ground. What do you think my initial height is going to be? 0. So because my h sub 0 is 0, I'm not going to put it. All right, any questions? So what I do is I have a ball. The ball is being kicked, and then it returns to the ground. Can we agree that it starts with a height of 0 and it ends with a height of 0? So that means that I know my vertical height. So what I'm going to do is take my y parameter, And I'm going to take my y parameter and set that equal to 0. And I think the issue here is like you may not recognize how to solve this, but it's a quadratic. So we could use a quadratic formula, which would be a lot, or we can just take out the GCF. So what is my GCF? This has a t squared and this one has a t. So what's my GCF? T. So let's factor out a t. And when I factor it out, I have negative 16.1 t plus 60 sine 38. Now let's set them both equal to 0. This right here, this represents, so when I set the first one, t, this is t equals 0. Because you have to think about it, there is going to be 2 times, that's why it's a quadratic, 2 times where the ball is going to have a height of 0. It's going to have a height of 0 when you kick it, and it's going to have a height of 0 when it comes back down to the ground. So now what I'm trying to figure out is how much time is it going to take to return to the ground. So what I need to do is set what I have inside of the parentheses. I'm going to set that equal to 0. Now keep in mind that this is a number. So I'm going to subtract that from both sides. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 16.1. So t is going to equal negative 60 sine 38 over negative 16.1. So go ahead and type that in your calculator. That's representing this time. So we know that when we kicked it initially, t was 0. Now remember that when you're typing this in the calculator, I would use the fraction bar.
Okay.
Yes.
If it's negative 16.1, why did you subtract it?
Okay, so I did not subtract it. So what I did was I subtracted the positive 60 sine 38, and then I divided it by negative 16.1. Yeah. Yes, David.
I'm confused on the first part. How we got t to outside the parentheses.
So it's no different than if it was 3x squared plus 2x, you would take out a x, right? That's what I did. I just took out. See, I had 2 t's here, and I just factored out a t. That's all I did was I took out the GCF. That's what I did. Okay. Thousandths place. So what did you all get for your t? T equals 2.294. Who had that? That is your answer. So we know in 2.294 seconds, it's going to take 2.294 seconds for it to hit the ground again. That is my answer to part B. Now part C is saying find the horizontal distance that it traveled. So going back to what I said at the beginning, that's your x parameter. So to figure out what this distance is from here to here, I'm going to take that time that it takes for it to hit the ground again and substitute it in my x equation. So x is going to equal 60 cosine of 38. And then we're going to put our answer that we got in part B right on in. Type that in your calculator. Everything is to the thousandths place. And you should get 108.462 feet. Yes. Yeah, sure. You just go. 'Cause I'm... Okay, any questions about number 1? We're only going to do a couple today and then we'll move on. Then I'll go through the homework. All right, let's look at number 2. It says, during a football game, Delmar attempts a 45-yard or 135-foot field goal. He kicks the ball at an angle of 41 degrees with an initial speed of 54 miles per hour or 79.2 feet per second. The goal is 15 feet high. Is the kick long enough to make the goal? All right, so we got a couple of different units here. And remember, when we're talking about, when we decide what unit to use, we either are going to go with meters or feet. And I'm noticing that I have feet. So I'm going to use the 135, and I'm going to use the one that says 79.2. I'm not going to use the 54 because that's in miles per hour, and I need it to be in feet. And I'm not going to use 45 yards because I'm using feet as my unit of measure. So let's go ahead and write our set of equations. So x of t is going to equal 79.2 cosine 41t. And your y equation, am I using 32.2 or 9.81 for gravity? (32.2). So if you take 32.2 times negative 1/2, that would be negative 16.1 t squared plus 79.2 sine of t. Oh, sorry, I missed something. Sine 41. Can't leave out the angle of t. And our initial height again is 0 because when you kick the ball, it's on the ground. So there we go. You got your hand up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why do you divide 32.2 by 2?
So if you look at the equation at the top, do you see how it says take g times negative 0.5? So you're always going to take the gravity times negative 0.5. And I don't know if I said this, but you will have everything that you see right here is on the test. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead. It says, how long will it take to reach the post? So we don't necessarily want to know how long it takes for it to hit the ground, because to make a field goal, we're not looking at that. Do we know how far away he is from the field goal? How far away is he from the field goal? 45 yards, which would be what in feet? 135. And that represents the horizontal distance that he is from. So what I'm going to do, because I know that he's 135 feet away, I know his horizontal distance, I'm going to take my x parameter and set that equal to 135. Now keep in mind that this is one whole number right there. So in order to solve for t, I'm just dividing both sides by 79.2 cosine 41. So I'm going to take 135 and divide it by 79.2 cosine of 41. All right, go ahead, type that in your calculators. All right, so did you get 2.259? Who got 2.259? All right, good. So we know that it's going to take 2.259 seconds for it to reach the field goal. But we need to see, is it high enough to make it? So I need to find the vertical height at 2.259 seconds. So I'm going to take that 2.259 And I'm going to substitute it into my y parameter, because remember, y is your vertical. So I'm going to take that. So y is going to equal negative 16.1, and then I have t squared plus 79.2. Hold on, I need some more space. All right, plus 79.2 sine of 41. And then inside of that, I'm going to put in my time, which is 2.259. All right, so go ahead, pick up your calculators and type that in. See what you get for his height. Or not his height, the height of the ball. All right, who got that the ball is going to be 35.218 feet? Okay, so remember, so when it hits it, that means that the ball is going to be about here. Does that count? Yeah, because as long as it's going, it's high enough to clear that post, that means that he made it. So the answer is yes. He did make the field goal. All right, any questions about number 2? We're only going to do one more today, and then we'll end there. Now we're moving on to soccer. So it says that Beth kicked the soccer ball straight towards a goal that was open. The goal is 60 feet away. So again, we know how far away she is. That's the horizontal distance. And we also know that the net is 5 feet high. So Beth kicked the ball at a velocity of 50 feet per second and an angle of 38. So let's write our equation. X of t is going to be her velocity times the cosine of her angle times t. Y of t is going to be, what am I going to start this equation? I got to take negative 0.5 times 32.2. So I'm going to start it with what? Negative 16.1 t squared plus 50 sine of 30 t. Now, when she kicks the ball, it's on the ground, so we don't need to add the height is 0. So what we need to know is how long is it going to take for it to hit the net. So if this is my net and this is the ball, the kick, I need to figure out how long it's going to take for it to travel this distance, which is 60 feet. Well, because I know it's 60 feet, I can take the x parameter and set that equal to 60. And remember, this is one whole number. So you're simply going to divide both sides by that. 60 divided by 50 cosine 30. That's going to tell us how much time it takes for it to reach the goal. Not how high it is, but how much time does it take to travel that kick. And again, everything is to the thousands place. And you should get 1.386 seconds. Who had that? So now we need to know at the time that it meets the goal, what's the height? So I need to know at 1.386 seconds, how high is the ball? How do I find that? Substitute that answer into what? Into y. Let's do it. So y equals negative 16.1, and it's t squared plus 50 sine 30 t. So I'm going to put that 1.386 here, and I'm going to put it here. All right, go ahead and type that in. So I got that the height was, what did you all get for the height?
I got 3.72.
3 point, give me three numbers. 3.722, who got that? So, remember in soccer, you don't want it to go over the net. We want it to hit inside of the net, and because the net is 5 feet, do we think she made the goal? Yes or no? Yes. All right, so we're gonna end there.